Good morning, good afternoon, or maybe it's good evening. Hi, my name is Vivian Acquah, the workplace wellness advocate, and it feels like I haven't done a Let's Humanize the Workplace in ages because everything was focused on Amplify DEI. But know that Let's Humanize the Workplace is back. It won't be as frequently as, every Tuesday, but I'm working on a schedule to make everything work. And tonight, it's going to be amazing, epic as always, but know that I already had, a laughing moment before because I'm meeting up with the speakers and I will introduce the speakers with you. But before I'm going to go to it's just the introduction of the speakers, I need to share something with you because 3 months ago, I think, no, 4 months ago, this is my son Orlando, who is at the moment 7, but in the image, he was about 2 or 3 years old. And he sparked something huge within me. Not only did he spark something within his mother, but he also managed me to pass on that spark. And that's what you see with Amplified DEI. I am forever grateful for all the speakers that joined in Amplifying DEI because the summit has been epic, and people are still talking about Amplify DEI, not knowing that I could do this. Um, I do have to say I'm still processing everything that happened because know that this summit contains all the ingredients that's containing in me, and you only saw just a snippet of what the summit has to show. So next year will be bigger, will be better, will be coming often. A lot of people have been asking me, okay, what's the next phase? I have to keep that under the wraps because I have to work on the next phase. I'm definitely working on the next phase, but know that we have so much content in there that everybody who is thinking about diversity or who wants to do something about diversity or is maybe in a different phase when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, I can say we have 69 speakers. We have 131 DEI talks, and we have covered 17 DEI categories. And all I can say, it's 100% online, available on demand. So wherever you want, whenever you want. So if you are traveling, in case that you're traveling, from the supermarket to your home, you can watch or listen to Amplify DEI. If you're driving along the way, you can still listen to Amplify DEI because the things that the so many insights that the speakers have shared, it will blow you away. And I cannot say that this speaker or this speaker or this speaker, all the topics, because I was the organizer and the planner of this summit, I have seen so many highlights that I'm still going through all the individual presentations because it's so much. And I encourage you to be challenged. There is a free part where you can still watch. If you don't know anything about me or don't know anything about the speaker, you can still go to amplifydei.com and watch some of the topics to be familiar, but also learn more about the speaker because you will be amazed by the speakers. And tonight, I have 2 of the speakers from Amplify DEI joining me in such an important topic, but I also have an additional guest speaker who has been an ambassador for Amplify DEI. So it's about being the best you at work. And I have to, look at my paper and see and read their bio. So, but before I do that, I have to bring them up first. Yes, it's been a long time that I've done this. So let me see. Don't say anything. I'm just going to introduce them. So Tammy Parrish is she takes stress out of getting dressed, providing useful tools to become more confident, visible, and increase your expert status. Leigh Ann Arthur is the founder and managing director of LAA International Executive Search and has an extensive experience working with international companies. And she is also the business partner with Bogdan, and they recently have launched a platform called the Essential Workshops. If you want to learn more about that, just look Leigh Ann up or look Bogdan up to learn more about the Essential Workshops. And Bogdan Manta, I don't know in what kind of mood he is, but he's a Jedi. He's a live communication strategist and negotiations and L&D experience specialist. Bogdan's background comes from neuro-marketing, corporate communication, social psychology, and multifaceted program management combined with 17 years of complex production and event. And Bogdan, I see Bogdan as my big brother, one of my big brothers, and he has become such an amazing friend during this journey, also during this lockdown, that I am honored that not only am I speaking to him, but I'm speaking to also to the two beautiful, amazing ladies. And I just wanted to highlight them because they have been very important from the sidelines when it comes to Amplify DEI. So this is for you.
And this is for Vivian.
Yes.
Thank you. So welcome to Let's Humanize the Workplace. So let's start with you, Leigh Ann. What is your connection with humanizing the workplace and why?
Well, I met you, Vivian, through Bogdan initially. And so you are an expert now on the Essential Workshops online learning platform through your course to Amplify Your Voice on LinkedIn. And it was just such a really fun day. Doing that recording.
You know how to describe it.
The plant.
You're leaving something essential out.
I don't have a plant. I think my plant is back there. I'm covering up my plant. Anyway, so that was really fun. And then, you invited myself and Bogdan to speak on Amplify DEI. And so it's just been such a great experience knowing you initially, getting to know you even better through the recordings, and then even more so through this DEI Summit 2020. And I can't wait for 2021. And even for this summit, all of the recordings, I really want that slide, because I'll be, throwing that out more and more about it being on demand, because I think it's really important that, we just keep listening. Absolutely.
Yeah, we need to go back and visit, and there's so much there to learn as well. And going to Tammy, what is your connection with humanizing the workplace? Why do you feel that aspect is important?
Well, I really want everyone to feel like they can bring their whole selves to work. And I know it's the statement's kind of becoming a cliche, but the people don't feel like they have to cover up or be ambiguous about certain parts of their lives because of how they're afraid their colleagues will react. So that's what I hope. That's why I'm here.
Thank you. And Bogdan.
You went black there for a little while.
I know. I had to wipe my nose. I wanted to. I wanted to hide that aspect.
Didn't work.
Come on, we're all human.
Hey, it's about being me, and being me doesn't mean that I have to blow my nose or on.
Okay.
That's right.
It's your turn, Boogie.
It's your turn.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
It's my turn. So good evening, everyone. Basically, I'm only here because I have a very weird haircut, and Vivian said that I need to show it to the world. There you go.
We were not supposed to ask anything about his hair, but since he's opening Pandora's box.
Literally, I look like a pineapple. I don't think we can avoid the elephant in the room, because clearly it wears red. So there you go. Now that we spoke about it, yes, my name is Bogdan Manta, and I had a mistake at a hairdresser today. This is very bad. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So
let's get to the next subject because Tammy, I wanted to start with you. How can people be their best selves when they're pitching for a job, for instance, or they are pitching for funding, or maybe they are pitching for a speaking gig? What would you say from your expertise?
The thing that comes to mind first is to let your sense of humor come through. And I'm not thinking specifically of how you look, but that does have to do with your facial expressions, right? So that you're not too stiff. But
you're
I think
touching a delicate subject.
Why? Why?
Yeah.
Come on. No, but I think it's important to not feel so paralyzed by stress or by what you're afraid of someone's going to think of you. That you just try and relax, and that makes you, right? That sets you apart from other people, is to have a sense of humor. And you can also, in your appearance, not your haircut per se, but you can, through small accessories or your clothing, you can also show a sense of humor.
Okay, so what would you tell me? Maybe a small tip. How can I, humorize people during the engagement? Is it my hair? Shall I shave everything off, or shall I do something else, or wear a crazy necklace? How would you humorize it? Just a minimal tip.
Well, I think you're already very comfortable with who you are, and I think you're a bit playful, and you also talk about how you're a nerd. So that is, you mean it, but it's also a little bit humorous, right? It's a little bit playful. It's not super serious. So, and I think you already do a good job of letting your personality show, and you're in the way you present yourself with what you say. Then you also have a sense of humor.
Interesting. Thank you, Tammy. And Bogdan, what do you have to say about this? So, how can people bring out their best selves when they're pitching for the job, or for maybe for a new house, or maybe funding, or a speaking gig?
Well, I think there's quite a few interesting elements. And of course, we're not going to go into identity, psychology, behavior, and everything that applies online. But one important thing, and I start to see it more and more in terms of the need for it, is adaptability. Because you do need to be yourself, and you do need to be who you are. At the same time, you need to adapt a little bit to the context, right? We keep on talking about context, and we say content is not king or queen, it's context. So depending on the context, if it's a gig, or if it's a pitch, if it's a presentation, if it's a negotiation, whatever it is, you kind of need to change your hats. In my case, to cover the hair. But listen, it's funny because it's true. And but adaptability, especially online, is very important. Also, the advantage is that online you can be much more adaptable and like a chameleon, because as you're online, people perceive you as like, some sort of a performance. We learn associatively, and by association, we experience it as a performance. So you can very much adapt, going to Tammy, your clothing and what you're wearing, depending on who you're talking to and what is the context, right? Is it a gig? Is it a pitch? So I think that's how it's very important. You always need to take a step back before you go live and say, okay, why am I doing this? How am I going to do it? Who is my audience? And then you start to adapt. People mostly adapt their content, but they don't adapt their personality type, the way they talk, voice, poses, sometimes not taking themselves seriously, sometimes being over serious, sometimes alternating. So adaptability is very important. And it's something that, to be very honest, the more we stay online, the less that adaptability I start to notice, which worries me a little bit, because we become grumpy, bored.
Yeah, and also one of the things that I noticed recently, it was shared in a WhatsApp group today about a girl who filmed how many times that she tried to insert herself in a conversation or in a lecture. She wanted to share something, but her fellow students kept sharing, over talking her talk. And I'm just like, okay, but how would you, what kind of tip would you share to that person who is trying to insert herself in a conversation, or every time that she was about to share something, a fellow guy student was over talking her. How can you be the best you in that situation?
In my opinion, that is the fault of the professor, of the teacher, of the facilitator. As a facilitator online, you need to understand there are introverted people and extroverted people. And you need to create an environment for introverts and extroverts to actually work together. And I'm referring to group dynamics rather than actually separating them. As a result, the introverts will never talk and the extroverts will talk over each other. Add some biases, unconscious biases, especially one of the biggest biases, and we do this with Lean In, right? When we talk about gender inclusion, one of the biggest biases is that men talk over women. Men will interrupt women 4 times more than they will interrupt each other, or than women will interrupt men 4 times more. But also if you're an introvert, that will not happen. So it starts with the teacher or the facilitator or the presenter, whomever is there, to make everyone aware of the fact that everyone needs to talk. You can't just let that conversation flow like that. Otherwise, why are you there? Why are you a teacher? Why are you a facilitator? You need to facilitate. So poor girl, I can understand where she's coming from. Also, you cannot fully blame the guys or everyone else, because if this keeps on being repeated, then we develop pattern. So it goes back to that person needs to be assertive and needs to make sure everyone is included and listened to.
And also learn about creating an inclusive culture. It starts in school, it starts from home. We all need to learn something about that, especially what you're sharing when it comes to those who are introverted. Sometimes they already are taking a huge step, a huge leap to say something, and then they are going to be overtalked. That's something that you should attend to. And also as teachers, please stop creating boring workshops or lectures or whatever. I mean, I'm recently dipping into the teacher field. So as a teacher, I'm trying to engage myself to prevent myself from being that boring teacher I had, 20 years ago. Sorry, if you're watching, if you're a teacher of mine, I'm sorry, but there were a few teachers that really made it exciting, and there weren't not that many. So we need to learn more about how we can give engaging presentations. And that goes not only for teachers, it goes for everybody who is presenting online. As long as you add a lot of you in it, you will attract the audience that you are going to attract.
And I don't know about you guys, but I mean, for me, the teacher or the professor, depending on if it was school, or university, but the teacher or the professor was really they made a difference on what kind of grade I was going to get, right? I mean, if I was engaged, I was there every single day. I was getting involved in all of the homework and, really, putting everything out there as much as possible. I mean, the ones that, were just completely boring, I was, okay, I'm going to skip class a couple times,
But now teachers I do understand the challenges that teachers are facing, or those who prefer to give, offline training, because now they have to try and engage people online, which is a different aspect, because you also have to get out of your comfort zone. I mean, to be honest, I've been going live almost weekly since a year, and I'm forgetting the date, but it's around this time when I was battling with myself. Should I go online? Should I not go online? How am I going to do it? Am I going to do it with makeup? Am I not going to do it with makeup? How overdressed am I going to be? What am I doing? Who's going to watch? Who's going to listen? So many questions that I was putting in myself, putting a lot of doubt, a lot of these ingredients that I just said, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to show up, and I will attract those who are into the message that I have to share. And I don't do makeup. I mean, I have my makeup artist, but to me, it's a lot of blah and a lot of fuss. And I already invested in an amazing camera it beautifies me already. So I don't need it.
Very colorful.
I don't need it. So that's it. That's my rant that I wanted to share.
No, that's good. I just wanted to share as well that, for the gal, if there, any gals out there, it's just for me, I would, because I know most students are sitting down and they're trying to make a statement of some sort, but I would have just stood up and said, this is my turn now, and we have to get better at doing that, right? Because guys will do that. So, hey, let me speak. I was just, let me finish. Right. So it's really about taking control of the situation as well. Learning how to do that, number one, and not being afraid, number two, and then being confident and just sticking with it.
But being assertive online has a whole different ball game than being assertive offline, because offline I can use my eyes or can use my hand saying what you're doing, or I can snap.
Yeah.
I do that. I use all of that. But doing that while being online, not everybody gets me, because some people might think, what is she doing with her hands? Or what kind of body language is she doing? Not everybody gets that.
There is one little very passive aggressive thing that has been invented. It's on Zoom, it's on a lot of things, on a lot of
block them.
You know what it is? Raise your hand. You click on that button. Click on that, raise your hand, until someone gets annoyed by that yellow palm that sits up.
I think we should have a new card called "Excuse me."
There you go. You don't have to say anything. If you're introverted, the only thing you have to do is something like this. It's like, hello. Do you see this green? You can have it.
I have the green card now.
I have orange.
So we need to utilize all the cards and say it's my turn. That's right. Okay.
That's right.
That's it.
That's a good tip.
You don't have to talk.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
That's a good tip. I hope the lady is watching, and if she's not watching, I hope so many other ladies and fellow students or fellow people are watching, because it's time. I'm thinking about Maxime. I'm not remembering her name, but the lawyer, she's called Maxime, reclaiming my time. Do you remember her?
Walters,
at the time that it was
Walters.
her time to talk and somebody else was over talking her, and she was like, I'm reclaiming my time. I will share the link later on. She is so hilarious, and ever since then I'm remembering that I'm claiming my time. That's it. I'm claiming my space.
Yeah, nice.
So Leigh Ann,
yes,
let's talk about the things that we don't want to see after this live stream. So can you share maybe 2 mistakes people make when they are online pitching for their job, pitching for funding maybe, or pitching for a speaking gig? What are your 2 mistakes that you see?
I would say the 2 biggest mistakes are not being prepared. And
prepared as in what? Prepared as in not being prepared as in the questions, as in the interview, or prepared as in the lighting or the camera, or?
Well, yeah, all of the above. I mean, not presenting ourselves in the most appropriate way online, not dressed in the right way. The camera angles are off. The lighting is bad. The interviewer can't see you. Well, Tammy, Bogdan, and I have a workshop that we go through all of this stuff, including how to answer questions. What do you say? How do you answer the question? Tell me something about yourself. So what I talk to candidates about is really preparing, right? And
so not showing up in your pajama, or not standing up while you're wearing only your boxer shorts.
Oh my goodness. Like the idea of somebody coming to the party with a shirt and jacket on and underwear underneath I could never do that. It's hot. What if something happened and you had to suddenly stand up, right? I mean,
you roll away. I have tricked myself. Not that I'm doing it, but I have tricked myself to, ladylike roll away, roll out of camera.
But there is a whole lot of preparation that goes on, even more so now with online and being yourself, right? So the preparation, even before you get in front of the camera, it all starts with knowing and understanding and being able to talk about who you are, what you do, and how you add value in a confident and succinct way. And you can't do that just by going blah, 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 blah. You really need to be able to write things out, think about them, talk outwardly, record yourself. And really understand what is it that you want to say, and how long does it really take you to answer some of these questions? I mean, there's all kinds of questions online that you can find out and practice. You don't ever know what somebody's going to ask, but they're good. There's some obvious questions that lots of people do ask. Lots of companies do ask. So it's really about the preparation and the confidence, really being confident in your voice, right? And being able to project in a meaningful way.
Yeah, because you talking like this at the moment gives me a very confident lady. It shows me that you know yourself, instead of you talking, sitting here and saying
exactly.
like, I'm the ideal person for the job, and you have to have me, and I want this job. It shows you a different person. And it shows me when I'm sitting like that, it shows me like I'm not interested in this job, while I might be.
Yeah,
I'm sitting up straight now.
But that's important, right? Because I mean, if we're slumping, online you can tell if you're slumping, and you wouldn't slump if you were in person to person. You wouldn't slump. You'd be at the edge of your chair. So why not sit on the edge of your chair when you're having an interview or when you're having a discussion? Sure, you can sit back all the way back in your chair. That's great. But, slumping doesn't do any of us any good. I mean, hi, my name's Leigh Ann, and I'm really, really good. Yeah. It's just like, come on.
Thank you. And Tammy, what are your things that you see, the 2 mistakes that you see and you wish people to avoid online?
I think the biggest one is, and this plays into what Leigh Ann said, is people not being succinct, not being concise and brief in what they say. A lot of it comes through preparation, but also nerves. So by preparing and practicing, you get over the nerves somewhat, and you can practice your elevator pitch. How are you going to concisely, compactly answer the question? So that's number one. Keep it short. This also touches on what Leigh Ann said about the voice. So I think especially online, people don't take advantage enough of using their voice. So it's not only the pacing, but the volume, and there's so many things you can play with. But again, it's practicing, and the posture helps with that. Obviously, if you're back here, you're talking inward.
But going back to your expertise or something that you do when you coach clients, I almost hesitated to, dress myself a little bit up, because it's my home day and I have, my jogging pants and my jogging suit. And I'm just like, no, that's one thing that I committed towards myself, is every time I'm doing Let's Humanize the Workplace, no matter what, unless it's too hot, then, there are different dressing codes. But unless, I have to always dress up, because it can be picked up. You never know where somebody might see it. You never know who's watching. You never know who you might trigger. And if I show up in my jogging suit, I don't know if the people will think that I'm serious enough for their workplace, or I'm maybe get hired. So it goes beyond. Dressing up goes beyond only showing up for Humanize the Workplace, because do know that when people watch this episode, or when people watch some of the episode of Humanize the Workplace, people remember how I acted. And I sometimes don't see that back when I see some online conversations that people pay respect towards what they are wearing, if it's appropriate for that occasion.
Well, so you have two things. You have what the way you look does to yourself. And some people argue, I don't care, it doesn't matter. I act the same way. I feel the same way when I wear my jogging pants or when I wear a suit. It doesn't matter. But you have, so how does it make you feel? And how does it make your public, your audience feel? How are they going to react to you based on what you look like? And of course, in the end, you want people to listen to what you say. But the first thing they see is how you look, what they actually see with their eyes. So if they're distracted or turned off by that, they won't even listen. So you've got to really get that visual piece just to get.
I totally agree. And if it was just a podcast, so you're doing just a podcast interview, I would say do what you want to do, because it, you know, how you feel, and if you feel confident in your home clothes, that's totally fine. But this is also live. This is also being videotaped, and I would rather show up, be a little bit uncomfortable for, not that I'm uncomfortable, but it's a new way of working, right? Because I went from a situation where during the week I dressed up, and now I don't have to dress up anymore. No, this is going the wrong way, but I don't have to dress up that often anymore. And now
a lot of us don't. Yeah, a lot of us don't have to dress up anymore.
Yeah.
Which is a whole other discussion, this whole psychology of, was having a discussion with the client about this. Why do we not wear our work clothes when we're working from home? Why have we stopped wearing them? And it boils down to being comfortable. So why were we dressing uncomfortable before? So, but that's a whole,
If you want to know more about that, you know, Tammy, just reach out to her. She can answer that question, because I do feel like we need to still be respectful of the way we dress. Because then again, I'm my own business card, and if I dress down not for the occasion or congruent with the client or the business mission, I am doubting that they will hire me again because of this.
Right. And it's not for just for self-employed people, but you're working for a company. It really does all add up, right? So are you going to get fired because you wore your jogging pants on your Zoom call one day? No, but all these things, if you consistently show up looking like a slob.
Is it bad to wear jogging pants? Because I have a confession to make. I'm wearing one. You're not seeing it, and I can roll away. No, we are being honest at the moment, and it's about being the best you.
I need a roller chair.
And my work is home, and I'm comfortable. That's why I'm not standing up.
As long as you don't spill coffee on yourself, or if there's not a fire or the doorbell doesn't ring, you're good.
No, I'm okay.
Good.
Bogdan, you've been very quiet. So I'm curious to hear what you want to share.
I can only echo what Tammy and Leigh Ann said, of course. That's the reason we also work a lot together, because we're very aligned and we see things in the same way. But there's two things that I would very much add to that, and we're gonna experience them live. Number one is, don't freak out. If something happens, please don't freak out. You know, everyone's like,
you freaked out. You freaked out when I disappeared.
Wait a second. I did not freak out. I was just stating, and that's going to link to the other one. State it. Always state it. Why? If something goes wrong, first of all, if nobody notices it, don't talk about it. You're the only one who knows that you're missing a slide, or you're the only one who knows that you missed a thing. Don't be like, oh, I forgot. Oh, I have to add this. You're the only one who knows. Don't freak out. Just go with the flow. Chill. You're online. It's fine. Number one. Number two, if someone says something to you, right? When I said what happens to the background, you were like, oh, okay, I had to scratch my nose, and we made a joke about it. You did not go like, oh my God, you know. Leigh Ann, for example, we spoke about the microphone. Her microphone is now again hiding behind the thing, and as she talks, you know, the microphone is scratching a little bit. And now as we talk about it, there you go. She's not freaking out. She's not like, oh my God, my microphone. It's fine. There you go. She showcased the microphone. It's part of the whole thing. Be charming about it. Make a thing about it. Don't freak out. That's the first thing. And the second thing, when things are really wrong and you can't fix them, state it. My haircut is a mess. I'm going to talk about it because I don't want to give context to people. So as a result, I had a little bit of a mistake, and this is how it looked like, but I'm stating it from the very beginning, because if I talk about it and I make a joke about it, people chill. Otherwise, you just allow for people to think about it the whole time. It's what we call, talk about the elephant in the room. So if there's something, you are getting ready for a job interview or for a pitch, and then you went to the hairdresser and this happens. State it. Start with it and say, well, this happened, ha ha ha, make a joke, exchange a story with your employer or whomever it is, and then they will start, oh my God, this happened to me once as well, ha ha ha, develop oxytocin and establish rapport. So talk about it. Don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed to show your vulnerability. Don't be afraid. Everyone is so stiff online. I am so sick and tired and bored of people being boring online. You know what? In March, April, May, we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what we didn't know. We were all trying new things and so on. 6, 7, 8 months later now, unfortunately, we start to develop patterns and behaviors of being boring online. We stop developing behaviors where someone mumbles for 35 minutes and then they do, we have a Q&A for 10 minutes. Nobody cares. Look at me. I can easily go into a C-suite, into a room full of 20 CEOs, and I guarantee you that I can talk every single thing that they're talking about. But this doesn't mean that I have to be stiff. I'm still being myself. I'm being funny. I'm making jokes. And if people don't like me, by the way, I'm doing this on purpose. Because if you don't like this, then stay away and don't try to work with me. Because I'm going to bring this on. So you better know it from the very beginning than to show up later on and to see that sometimes I'm making a silly joke. So it's just, be who you are online. If anything, be even more of who you are online than offline. Because at the end of the day, you close that little webcam and you go on with your life, and that's fine. Just take a chill pill, relax.
And especially now, we need to, humanize our offline engagement or online engagement as well, because we are humans. Yes, I want to be entertained, not the whole time, because I know Bogdan, and my entertainment level with Bogdan, it's about 2 or 3 hours, and I had enough. But he's amazing. No, this is not about bashing Bogdan, because he's an amazing person. But being the best you online means that you can showcase whatever quirkiness you have. Yes. Leigh Ann mentions, or Tammy mentions something about me being a nerd, and I'm not afraid to hide it. I have my tools, I have my geeks here, and I'm uberly excited about it. And it's also part of me. It's also important for me to tell that to people so that they don't freak out when I turn all nerdy against them or talk nerdy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have to be authentic. That's just, we have to be. What's the point? Not that many somebody that you're not. That's just boring. Talk about boring.
People connect with people.
Who can even keep up with themselves when they try to do that?
Yeah, but not that many people are open enough or able, how do you say it, are feeling a safe, or having a safe environment to be themselves, because that's also one of the things that we have to make sure of is, are you able to be yourself in the environment that you're working in? Because if the environment isn't, protective or safe enough, that's something that you need to think about. I'm not saying that you have to quit your job or remove yourself, but is there something that you can do to provide that safety? And if not, address that safety with your manager or with HR or somebody else who's responsible for that, and address it within the team, saying that we need to create some kind of safety, because we also need to take care of our mental health, and not being able to be the best you, or to show up your best self, or to show your best self online, it's damaging you. Maybe in tiny ways, maybe in huge ways, but in a way you're making yourself smaller than you should.
Vivian, I think both Tammy and Leigh Ann can give you more details about this, because we were very recently, actually during the last workshop we did together, we were talking about mental health, and mental health will become something extremely relevant to keep on talking about, especially now as we go into a very difficult time. Outside it's raining, winter is coming, second wave is coming, and so on. We need to talk about these things. That's another thing. We need to talk to each other, and we need to listen.
But also provide provide a podium or provide a stage or provide that safety where an employee can talk to somebody else about the mental health. Because know that at the beginning of the year, when the lockdown came, I think a month later, I already shared a prediction from the World Health Organization and also the World Economic Forum, saying that yes, COVID is the number one pandemic, but the second pandemic that is coming, and it's coming sooner than later, is the burnout rate, is the amount of stress. And if you're leaving your people empty-handed, with no toolkits, no training, no workshop, when it comes to mental health, your figures for presenteeism will spike, your figures for absenteeism will spike, and eventually you might up ending having a team that isn't a team anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much so.
And it all goes to providing that safe space there. So
and depending on, you know, the type of person on the team. I mean, they might be an introvert and therefore they're not going to say anything about the difficulties that they're going through, and so you just slowly see a decrease, right? As opposed to them actually saying anything and potentially, you know, just actually leaving the company, as opposed to, you know, trying to seek out help of some sort. So, I mean, the conversation has to open itself up, and you know, it's not like you want to have a pandemic to bring these sorts of things up, but you know, if it's a way to help us all, you know, have empathy for each other and talk together about how can we be a better team, how can we be better teammates, this kind of thing. You know, so yes, you might have a manager or a team manager or director or whatever, but actually, if you have a really a strong team, then everybody's looking out for each other, right? You're not just.
I love that. I love that, because we mostly look towards the manager or the leader, as in you have to take care. But what about the connectivity amongst each other? Why can't you buddy up with somebody else and say, hey, let's have a virtual coffee. I just want to know how you are, and I just want to touch base with you and talk about something different than only work, because we don't exist about only work. Remember those days when you were at the office and you had a conversation about something outside of work? Let's bring that back from time to time.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was April or May. I don't even remember exactly what it was. I was just having a bad week for very good reasons, but I was having a bad week. And out of the blue, I get something from Tammy. And it absolutely made me feel human, feel heard, feel listened, feel loved, appreciated. And I don't know, Tammy, how you know, I said thank you and so on, but very often you do this and people don't actually know what an impact it has on them. I mean, it had such a monumental impact on me, and I keep on saying, you know, thank you to Tammy for stuff like that. But it's just, and Tammy doesn't know because she's a superhero, but she has no idea. But these are the type of little things that we do for others and have such a monumental impact on. We can change people's lives. And you know, and it's like, I'm looking at all three of you, and all three of you, you're doing amazing things at it. I'm not even going to go in, you know, I know Leigh Ann for 400 years, and I don't think I've ever met a kinder person in my life. And in 400 years, I met a lot of kind people. And you know, Vivian, what you're doing with what you did with Amplify DEI, and we need to be kinder to each other, because especially with everything that happens right now, and we're talking about humanizing the workplace, we need to listen more than we actually need to talk, especially during these times.
Yeah, I mean, that goes into inclusive leadership, right? That the leaders of teams, not just leaders of companies, but leaders of teams. And there's so many different levels, right? Whether it's not just office people, right? It's also in the manufacturing facilities and the distribution areas, et cetera, et cetera. And I can imagine that in some of these places that there is a real sort of traditional mindset about, hierarchy. And, I'm the manager and therefore I must, be in control, as opposed to being an inclusive leader who says, hey, James, I haven't heard from you. What do you have to say about this problem? Any ideas?
True.
Right.
True. I mean, it's showing this lockdown even though this lockdown has its ups and its downs, it's showcasing how companies who already embrace inclusive leadership are performing better, and those who aren't are being exposed now, and they have a lot more work to do. But I would say start from you. Instead of looking up towards the manager, start asking yourself, what can you do? What can you do to be the best you, but also what can you do to bring out the best in somebody else? And find a buddy, find a colleague that you can buddy with, or maybe, the three of you can look after each other so that you are strong. I know it's challenging from a distance, but when you reach out, just a phone call, because the Zooming, I know now I'm still online and I have been, online previous on this day. But in the end, when I do too many of these live engagements, it's draining. So I know when to stop and I know when to continue. And I have days in between that I don't want to see anybody at all online. I just call them. Or leave a WhatsApp message.
Yeah.
So that we can still stay in touch. We don't always have to put on the camera, because having a light here, looking at the camera, looking at that light in between the camera, and then looking at two of my other screens on the side after this, I always zone out after a live session, because I have to have that recharge moment as well.
Totally get that. Yeah. Yeah. There was someone on LinkedIn.
Who said that? Be an eagle, not a duck.
Very good. Just what's the point really of Zoom?
Yeah.
Like every meeting being a Zoom meeting. Why it doesn't have to be. I mean, let's have some phone calls back and forth. That's good stuff.
I don't understand why companies aren't utilizing internal podcasts. I mean, you can still share your message via audio. Why is that so hard? And if it's hard, you can always reach out and ask how to set something up, because you're saving time for people. You're saving their eyes. Know that by the end of the year, lots more people are going to wear glasses, and a lot more people are going to be challenged with their eyes. And this whole lockdown, this digital eye strain that we put upon each other, it's not a joke. It's really serious that we're doing it. And instead of, saving that message that you have, it's an important message, put it on a podcast. They can listen while they're cooking, or maybe they're cleaning, or maybe doing something else. They can listen at it at their own time. They can even speed you up. I'm a speed listener, so I put you on 1.4 and I'll listen to you. That message is still powerful at 1.4 speed. I zone out when people talk too slow. Sorry, I zone out. So
That's why I sent you a 17-minute video, and after 3 minutes, you said, I finished it.
Note to self: always record, send
Very
recordings
fast.
to.
I have to watch for the whole thing.
Hi, my name is Leigh Ann Arthur, and
So going back to the question, because I have two more questions or one more question. I don't know, how are you with time? Are you okay with 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have two more questions. So Bogdan, what would you tell your younger self about personal branding?
Google it.
Yeah, but were you from a time that Google was there?
Oh my God, are we talking about my age?
No.
Oh.
I would
Don't
never.
go there. No. So what? Okay, very serious now. What I would tell myself about personal branding, I think I would tell myself one thing, and that would be be more of yourself, be much more of who you are. It took me so much time until I was so scared of showing myself. And funny enough, I think for me, it was the online that allowed me to truly be who I was and to behave in the way that I am, and to show my quirkiness and sometimes my weird sense of humor, and to show my empathy and my vulnerability. I think I always showed my vulnerability up to a certain point. But I've always been terrified of showing who I truly was to people, because I thought, oh, people will think you're weak. Not at all. Just be who you are and be yourself, and allow for people will like you or not anyway, but at least allow them to see who you truly are, and then let them decide if they like you or not. But don't pretend to be a different person, because then probably you have people who could be very important in your life. They're gonna not like that fake version, and they're gonna walk away. Just be yourself. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it means working on yourself. I would really say that and I don't think, I don't know, you call it personal branding. For me, is just being who you truly are. And next to that, I would add constantly try to find the highest expression or a higher expression of yourself constantly.
Love that. Thank you. Tammy.
Well, I think the biggest message I would want to give is to definitely think about the image you're portraying, because once you make that first impression, it's going to take 7 more times before a person might change their opinion of you. So, and what's the first thing people notice? It's using the eyes, if they can see. So that's personal branding is important, even though I am starting to get tired of those words. But
Why?
it is a real
Why
thing.
are you tired? Because it's an important thing. I mean, I'm teaching students now to be aware of their personal branding and how they can match their branding with the brand of the company. So I did not have that when I was in college. The students of now, they do have this lesson, so never get tired of it. Maybe you have to name it differently.
Exactly. It's
so
not
important.
The concept, it's the word. I feel now it's so overused. The concept's absolutely important.
Yeah. Leigh Ann.
What would I tell my younger self about personal branding? I think is that you're growing up and you're going to make mistakes, and you should embrace those mistakes and learn from them. Because as young kids, we have a tendency just to say, oh, well, oopsie. Even as adults, we do that sometimes. But it's like, really embrace your mistakes and learn from them. So, if you went to school and wore something that wasn't very,
I have those moments.
It didn't match who you are.
Yeah.
Think about it and say, okay, I tried it. I did some A/B testing. Not going to do that again, right? So, I mean, I've definitely done that. I mean, oh my goodness, one of my high school pictures, I had a pink blouse on with orange lipstick and some kind of it was awful. But it's like, you make mistakes, Hey. So it's embrace your mistakes, and I think ask a lot of questions, because by asking a lot of questions, you get to understand what resonates with you, and you get a better picture of who you are from a personal brand perspective, or your authentic self.
I would say to myself, know yourself and embrace it. Embrace your length, embrace your roots, embrace your uniqueness, and embrace your quirkiness. You have seen me, you have all seen me. I'm very tall, and I have not that tall friends, but it's not because of them. It's more or less that I was making myself very small, was making myself very small, until somebody told me, like, why are you always making yourself small? You need to claim your space. So I'm claiming my space. While sitting down, I'm claiming my space.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Gosh, you know,
Yeah.
I loved meeting Vivian for the first time because I thought that I was tall. And I did the same thing in high school, you know, slumpy
Yeah.
shoulders and all of that. And then meeting Vivian, she was taller than me. I was just like, yes, this is so amazing.
Yeah, and I felt wonderful being shorter than both of you.
Your persona is big enough, is tall enough.
That's right. Oh my gosh, your persona makes you, you know, gargantuan.
Yeah, yeah. So what is Steve Reeves saying? People have to create labels for everything. So they say they can be experts on LinkedIn and try to sell courses. All their answers are great, and they are all be yourself. It's a little bit cryptic, Steve, what you're sharing, but I'm assuming that it's positive. And what we tend to forget is we go from school, we have to, you know, behave in a certain way, and then you end up in a job. And if that job or that workplace, people are behaving in a similar way, so they are not celebrating diversity, inclusion, and equity, you become one of them. And becoming one of them means that you're not being yourself. So that's why I really felt it important that I had to bring these three experts. I see them as my experts on about being the best you at work, because they highlight it from different aspects. And it's so important that we encourage people to be their best selves. And maybe their environment isn't supportive enough, or maybe they have to reevaluate. And also, the end of the year is coming. Reevaluate where you are, what you're doing. Are you happy with where you are, or are you not happy? Are you thriving at what you're doing or not? I'm not saying that everybody should hand in the resignation letter, but I do know an executive search lady.
I don't know if Leigh Ann is on. I'm showing up. I hope Leigh Ann shows up on top of me. Otherwise, people will be like, "This cuckoo." Do you know the very interesting thing is, it was a post from Jouvence, and if Jouvence is watching, I'm saying hello to Jouvence, because you're mentioning a very special executive search. Not only is a madam here a very good executive search, but the word around town is that she is the best executive search in the Netherlands and one of the best in Europe. And, you know, knowing this wonderful lady for a very long time, I can only echo that, and I can confirm that that is the case, number one. And number two, there's another lady who is smiling right now. I don't know where we're pointing, who is, listen, I'm going to do a little bit of promotion right now. Get her online course on how to dress for the right job. And she's going to tell you some things about contrast and everything. Tammy Parrish is an absolute expert. So I'm very humbled to be surrounded by you know, three wonderful professionals, super smart people, and on top of that, highly empathetic and highly engaging as well. Because, you know, you can be smart, you can be empathetic, but you can be boring. Unfortunately, none of you is.
Hi, Gary. Thank you for sharing as well. Gary was also
here.
Hi, Gary.
Hi, Gary.
And I do have to say, if you haven't seen the talks, one of the most liked or most watched is Gary's talk. So if you have missed out on Amplify DEI, go to amplifydei.com and you can still watch it on your time, whenever you want, wherever you want. And hi, Mary Jane. This has been so amazing. Yeah. So going back to the last question before we close off, because we are almost at the end of 2020, and boy, what a year it has almost been. We have about 4 years and 2 months, and then 2025 is already knocking on our doors. So what is your wish when it comes to humanizing the workplace and being the best you at work? What do you wish to see? I'll start with Leigh Ann.
I wish to see that, and I said this in the interview that we had with regards to Amplify DEI, that DEI really does have a budget, within the context of the corporate office, that it is a standalone department. Yes, it works with HR, but that it has its own budget, and that there are just trainings everywhere about what it really means. What is diversity? What is equality? What is inclusiveness? And that people know how to treat each other in the workplace, that people have respect for one another, especially giving each other the opportunity to speak and speak out. And not being, and especially speaking out, if they're feeling oppressed in some way, and not being diminished or, chucked out because of it.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things in my talk was about, having a disruptor on the team, and how healthy that actually is, because it helps everybody understand the other guy on the shoulder, right? And I didn't mean specifically guys, but just, the other voice, right? And learning how to answer questions from the disruptor. So there's a lot of really great things that we can learn through DEI. And so I just really would like to see a dedicated budget to that area.
I love that. And I would also like to see the possibility that we can move around and at least give each other hugs, because I miss that.
Yeah. So empathy and empowerment, right?
Yeah.
So good. So good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bogdan.
There's just something that comes into my head right now, which is everyone is fighting a fight you might not know about, or you might not know of. Be kind. I started to see at the beginning of the lockdown that some of the people became at least more interested and kinder to one another, and I would like for that to continue. And one thing that I can truly recommend and wish for people is to actually take a step back, get some perspective, and try to listen more than to talk. Right? I'm thinking of one of the very famous quotes: "We have been given a mouth and 2 ears, so you can use them accordingly." So get some perspective and don't cast judgments on people, because you don't know what people are going through right now. You don't know what's their home situation. You don't know what they have to struggle with, or what they have to juggle with. Their kids, their stuff, their people are working from home. We're forced into there's
maybe they have lost a loved one, right? A loved one right now. Yeah.
There's so many things, right? Be kind to one another, and that's one thing. And the second thing, and I would very much want to emphasize on that: walk away from bad people. Recognize bad people, because two things happen right now. Some of us became kinder, but the bad people got even worse and nastier.
Yeah.
If you recognize someone who is being bad, don't waste your energy on that person who will not change, but can change your state, can change your energy, can change you. Focus your energy on people who need your kindness, people who support you, support each other. Some people are just bad people. Walk away from them, wish them well. Don't wish them anything bad, wish them well, but do that thing, take that step and walk away from people that also not necessarily they're bad, but maybe they don't match your values. Maybe they don't match your principles. Walk away and focus on people who matter, people who do match your principles, people who do match your values. And just be kind. Be kind, be kind, be kind. We need this now more than ever.
Thank you, Bogdan. Thank you. Tammy.
So I'm going to bring it back to my area of expertise. And I do think that on the positive, if we have to find positives to COVID, the fact that we are working from home has changed how we get dressed and how we look. So I
Is it
hope
better or worse?
in general, I think it's better, because I hope that when we go back to actually meeting up physically, that there will be less pressure on people in the workplace to conform to these unwritten, I mean, there are written policies, but the unwritten policies, especially for women who have often dressed as men to feel like they can level with them.
Yeah.
So I would like to see people feeling free to express themselves more in their appearance in the workplace.
As long as it's business appropriate, though, that's what you're sharing, right? I'm sorry, it's late. I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm just like, okay, this is going the wrong way, Vivian.
No nudity in most professions.
What's wrong with nudity?
I wasn't talking about that.
We were talking about no pants earlier, so I'm not saying that. No, it's professional, but I would like to see people feel less restricted and more, because it's part of your self-expression, right? How you show up physically.
Yeah.
Okay. I get that. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. I also have to highlight Ranessa. Ranessa is sharing the younger generation is very lucky to have the comfort of internet and the tools like social media with people like us who are passionate with teaching and sharing knowledge, and kudos and well done to all of us. So thank you, Ranessa, for sharing that. And amazing. I have to say thank you to Steve, thank you to Mary Jane, thank you to Gary, thank you to Ranessa, thank you for making this episode epic again, and also thank you to the amazing guest speakers, because without them, I could not have done this, and it's always a blast to have this conversation with you, and I really enjoyed it. So if you have any questions about being the best you, just reach out, connect with Leigh Ann, or connect with Tammy, or connect with Bogdan, and otherwise follow them on LinkedIn. And I also want to highlight something of my screen. I have to plug Amplify DEI again. I'm not going to share that much, but I am going to say thank you for joining Let's Humanize the Workplace. I have a surprise next week. I won't share it right now, but I have a surprising guest panel for next week, and I'm looking forward to have this conversation with you. So thank you for watching Let's Humanize the Workplace, and until next time, bye everybody.
Bye.